Wonder of all wonders is working. Okay, we're going to minimize that. We're going to go over the 20 questions that we had for Constitutional Law 1. I want you to record your answers. If you need to change your answers, go ahead and do so on your sheets, so that way you have these answers. Yes?
Do you have an extra one? Because I have this in pen.
Yeah, that in pen? I don't. I think I'm down to my last one. I'm sorry. Just get you out a piece of paper and make the changes to it, and then staple it to the back is what I would advise you. But here we go. Card number 1. Dealing with the age. And as I'm going to go through these, I'm going to talk about them, so make sure your cell phones are put away and you were paying attention. Card number 1 is speaking directly towards that information that you're going to need to know in order to be to understand the qualifications to be a member of Congress. No person shall be a representative who shall not have attained to the age of 25 years. So the answer to card number 1 is yes. At 30 years of age, you can be a congressman or woman, congressperson. 2, qualifications. Part of the formal qualifications to be a United States Senator. Their term of office is 6 years. So quick math tells us if Claire McCaskill was reelected to the United States Senate in 2012, when will she run for reelection?
2018.
2018, very good. Number 3, this is important. Why? Because this speaks right to what we're seeing happening and America's dealing with between now and the end of this year, and that is the fiscal cliff. When we read the news and we watch the news about this impending fiscal cliff, we're talking about massive tax hikes set to take place come January. Tax hikes on payroll, tax hikes on the middle class, tax hikes on everybody across the board. And something needs to be done about it. If there is a bill dealing with revenue, revenue is income to a government. There are licenses and fees that governments can collect money from, but the primary source of money into any government is taxes. So when we're talking about revenue, we're talking about taxes. It has to originate in the House of Representatives. Why would the framers of the Constitution want a bill dealing with money, revenue, to originate in the House of Representatives and not the Senate? Very good. A lot more people to weigh in on that topic. A lot more people. You want those 435, as it is right now in the U.S. House of Representatives. You want those 435 people to weigh in on a tax that will apply towards all of America. In addition, of those 2 chambers, House and Senate, which one is going to be more reactive to the people's wants and needs? Granted, those are 2 different things. But which one is going to be is going to have to be more reactive?
The Senate.
Why the Senate?
Because he deals with like that type of location in the House, it's just like, all these things.
Okay. I want you to consider though how often.
The House has, a little bit to do with it also.
Yeah, the House is going to also, both of these are going to play into it, okay? But the House is going to need to be more reactionary to where Americans' opinions are, that public opinion, because representatives run for re-election every 2 years. If you want to get re-elected, you're going to have to do what the people want. And when we start looking at the legislative branch next quarter, when we come back from Christmas, I want you to remember this story. George Washington was asked, what is the purpose of the Senate in our form of government? And the story that he shared was, and I think it's George Washington, forgive me if it's not, but the story is still good. Back in the day, in George Washington's time, that coffee saucer was called a cooler. Okay, you got the coffee cup and the saucer. The saucer actually had a purpose. When the coffee would come out too hot, they would pour it into the saucer, and it would cool quicker. That way they could add it back into the rest of the cup, and then you could consume it. Okay, and it was known as a cooler. When Washington was asked, what is the purpose of the Senate and the legislative branch? He goes, the Senate is like the cooler. Sometimes things come out a little hot. Sometimes things are a little bit, we need this right now. The Senate can calm things down. The Senate is there to cool things off. Just as the cooler cools the coffee, so does the Senate when it comes to legislation. You're going to get a lot of bills coming through the House of Representatives that are, we need to do this right now. The Senate is, ooh, it's cool. We don't have to worry about re-election. We run for re-election in 6 years. That's why the Senate, on the federal level, is the cool, deliberate, we need to focus on what's best for the nation. And they have the luxury of doing that because they don't have to be re-elected every 6 years. Okay. Number 4. How many wars have we had? What was the last official war that we had?
Iraqi war. Or official. Like
Official.
World War II.
Yeah, World War II. World War II. That was the last official war that we've had. But tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of Americans have died in conflict since then. So when we look at the executive branch, and remember, in my class, government all goes back to power. Look at the power that's been placed in the hands of the executive branch. A little foreshadowing in February, ladies and gentlemen. That has allowed the commander-in-chief, which is one of the cards coming up here pretty soon. Card number 5. 5, 6, and 7. These 3 cards should be driving home the concept that the president appoints with the Senate approving. Now we'll look at the concept that is clearly demonstrating checks and balances, right? But we need to understand that if there is an opening, whether, like in card number 7, if there's a treaty, card number 6, where there's an appointment to an ambassador, or card number 7, where the president can appoint a judge. And if you'll notice over on my chalkboard, appoint is synonymous with nominate. To ratify or approve or confirm, those 3 words are synonymous. So when I say the president may appoint or nominate, I'm saying the same thing, okay? The president appoints, but the Senate confirms. We've got that happening on 2 fronts right now. We've got an opening with the CIA. Thank you, General Petraeus, for resigning. And we're also going to have an opening with the United States Secretary of State. Hillary Clinton is not going to serve a 2nd term. So these are 2 things on the horizon. Yes, sir.
Would you happen to have to raise your call?
I sure would. 5, 6, and 7. Nobody should miss that question now. If there should ever be a question or a discussion point or anything like that, we should understand the president appoints, the Senate confirms. Do not tell me that Congress confirms. That's incorrect. We need to be more specific. Okay? Scary proposition number 8. I'm old enough to be president. That scares me too. Number 9, term of office. If we just had a presidential election in 2012, when's the next time we're going to have another presidential election? 2016. Absolutely, every 4 years. And there's one card on the back here that we're going to get to in just a bit, dealing with amendment or article number 5. I would encourage you, if you want some thought-provoking reading, Larry Sabato for a More Perfect Union. We want to amend the Constitution. We want to change how government is set up. Some serious thought-provoking, radical ideas. Let's extend the term of office for president to 6 years with a vote of the people saying, do we keep him or her for another 2 years? And after that, then we'll have a formal election. If the people don't want to keep them on term, on duty for another 2 years, we'll have a formal election. Expanding the House of Representatives so that it's truly representative, because we've been at 435 since the 1920s. And the population of the United States has blown up since then. Let's really make it. I think he kicks it up to about 700 people. almost doubles the size of the House of Representatives. And finally, card number 10. Card number 10 should have two answers. Article 1, Sections 2 and 3. Section 2 deals with the House of Representatives. To impeach means to charge. To be impeached means I have been charged. But because we live in a nation of rules and laws, ladies and gentlemen, you are innocent until proven guilty. I realize that many people believe you are guilty until proven innocent. But you are innocent until proven guilty. We have to have a trial. That's where the Senate comes in. The House of Representatives can impeach. The Senate tries the impeachment. How many presidents have been impeached in American history? Who? Richard Nixon. Was no. He actually resigned prior to being impeached. Who?
Andrew Johnson and Bill Clinton.
Very good, very good. Sucker coming your way.
Impeached, can you be president again?
Yes.
If you are impeached once, can you run again for a second term?
Yeah. If that impeachment of Bill Clinton had happened during his first administration. Now remember, to be impeached does not mean that you are being removed from office. Impeached simply means that you've been charged. It goes into the Senate. In both instances, in President Johnson, Andrew Johnson, and President Clinton, they went to the Senate. They were not found guilty. No removal from office. But just to clarify, ladies and gentlemen, presidents aren't the only ones that can be impeached. Supreme Court justices, members of Congress, federal judges, all those. If you're a federal official, you can be impeached. We're looking at cards 11 through 15 here. Okay. Article 1, Section 8. When we talk about delegated or enumerated, once again on the chalkboard there are words that's synonymous with one another. Enumerated or enumerate in this instance is the same as delegate or delegated. I'm going to use those words, and I want you to understand, because I don't want someone to freak out. What do you mean delegated powers? I've never heard that word before. The book talks about enumerated powers, but I've never heard of delegated powers. Yes, you have. They're synonymous. Article 1, Section 8 clearly lays out legislative branch. This is what you can do. So when they talk about those enumerated or delegated powers, that's what they're talking about. This is what you can do. Why would our founding fathers specifically tell government what it can do versus what it can't? And it does get into that a little bit later. Why would they want to specifically spell out what government can do?
Lay out the rules.
Lay out the rules? And what is it about our past that would motivate them to lay out the rules like that?
How far they came then from
what they had, such as that experience as a British colony, that experience under the Articles of Confederation. Remember, the Articles of Confederation did not specifically delegate a lot of powers to the national government. This lays it all out there. Articles of Confederation, no power to tax. Constitution of the United States, we're going to put it in there. You have the power to lay and collect taxes. So anytime that we want to talk about the delegated or enumerated powers of Congress, Article 1, Section 8, it flat out says, Congress shall have the power to, and then it enumerates it listed. 12 is probably a difficult one for you to find, but it does prove that we have discussion still about where all the players in American government are supposed to sit. The Vice President of the United States is the President of the Senate. Do not get confused on that, ladies and gentlemen. There's absolutely no reason for you to get confused on that. To say who is the presiding officer or who is the President of the Senate, you should be able to give me a name for that person right now. Who is it? Joe Biden. It's a big deal. That's right. Joe Biden. And when I say this provides a lot of discussion, our most immediate past Vice President of the United States and Dick Cheney went so far as to say that the Vice President of the United States is part of the legislative branch. So that gave all the news media an opportunity to trot out these constitutional scholars who said, well, I guess in a way, technically, he's right, but it's not. But the Vice President isn't. Card 13. You want to learn more about this story, about the hunting war of 1837 between Iowa and Missouri? Take my Missouri history class. Shameless plug, recorded on this little speech for all posterity. But if Missouri and Iowa want to get into a fight about that northern tier of counties, which we have, where would it be settled? Go to the Supreme Court. 14. For life or good behavior? Define bad behavior. Addicted to painkillers? Is that bad behavior?
Bad behavior as in like abusing your power.
Is that bad behavior for a Supreme Court justice? Would that be grounds for removal? Not so much.
Abusing your power is like doing something wrong, like
Being addicted to painkillers.
being
Yeah.
snoring, crushing up.
I don't know how we consume
That's
them,
pretty bad.
but I know that Chief Justice William Rehnquist did have an addiction to painkillers because of chronic back problems.
Oh, that's not
And it was known,
medical.
but he was not removed. He was not removed from the bench. 15. 15 is the basis and grounds for why Mitt Romney can still become president of the United States. Political ideology aside, Mr. Hubbard. Some people may be perfectly okay with that. All you need is 17 states to boycott the Electoral College certification. Then it gets over to the House of Representatives, as outlined in the Constitution of the United States. Because it's a Republican-controlled House of Representatives, one state, one vote. All you need is 26 states to go, yep, Mitt Romney, next president of the United States. How those electors are appointed is up to each state. 16, I don't think that's a far-stretching imagination, but Article 2, Section 2 clearly says the president shall be commander-in-chief. And anyone who has family serving in the military understands. They understand that. They serve at the discretion of the president. Article 6, a congressional law. Thank you, Colorado and Washington, for making this next unit on federalism so fun to teach. By passing laws that say recreational use of marijuana is legal, we shall have a fun discussion of the concept of federalism. 18, why can't a governor talk bad about the government? I can, you can. In fact, speaking out against government and condemning them for things that they do may be the highest form of patriotism. So no, the governor is not going to be tried for treason. He is in flexing his First Amendment right to freedom of speech. Number 19 speaks directly to what Larry Sabato at Virginia is advocating in his book. I don't know if he's advocating, he's just throwing it out there probably. Proposed amendments to the Constitution. It's nice to see that the framers of the Constitution were not so arrogant as to believe that whatever we set out here, this is going to be the gospel according to. And finally, card number 20. The word veto does not show up in the Constitution of the United States, but this is where it's specifically spelled out. If the president like it, if he approve, he shall sign it, but if not, he shall return it. Wow, I can't imagine how Ms. O'Farrell would react if you wrote that sentence in her class. Questions on this? All right, we're going to close up shop here.